Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Filmgespräch mit Ole Christian Madsen und ein paar erklärende Worte vorweg. Im Februar 2015, und das war nur ein paar Wochen nach dem Massaker in der Redaktion der Satirezeitschrift Charlie Hebdo in Paris, da gab es auch in Kopenhagen einen islamistischen Terroranschlag. Ein Kulturzentrum, und es heißt ironischerweise wirklich Pulverfass. Dieses Kulturzentrum wurde von einem 22-Jährigen unter Beschuss genommen, denn dort wurde gerade über Kunst, Blasphemie und Meinungsfreiheit diskutiert. Und einer der Teilnehmer war der schwedische Karikaturist Lars Vilks. Der Attentäter schaffte es nicht in den Saal. Dann wollte draußen ein Mann aus dem Publikum ihm die Waffe entreißen und er wurde erschossen. Der Täter konnte flüchten und tauchte dann nachts vor der Kopenhagener Synagoge auf, in der gerade eine Bar Mitzwa-Feier stattfand. Er tötete vor dem Gebäude einen Wachmann, entkam ein zweites Mal, wurde dann aber Stunden später von der Polizei erschossen. All das sieht man in Ole Christian Madsens Spielfilm und man weiß von Anfang an, wie er ausgeht. Sein Film, so sagt der Regisseur selbst, sollte der Film der Terroropfer werden. Und so ist es auch. Was diesen Film ausmacht, das sind Einblicke in die Lebenssituation der beiden Opfer vor dem Ereignis. Dazu noch die Beobachtung des Attentäters und schon gleich zu Beginn des Films die Begegnung mit dem Polizisten, der ihn am Ende in Notwehr erschießt. Wobei die Figur des Polizisten und seine Geschichte für den Film erfunden wurden. Und über all das spreche ich jetzt mit dem Regisseur Ole Christian Madsen. Hello and welcome to Nordic Film Days online and welcome to our guest Ole Christian Madsen in Copenhagen.
Thank you.
Ole, it's a fiction film, your film, not a docudrama, but I can imagine you must have studied what actually happened around the cultural center in Copenhagen. Do you think there was a lack of security?
You mean during the actual attack?
Yeah.
There was a kind of lack of security. I mean, it was so unexpected from the Danish authorities. I mean, if you're talking about the first attack on on Kutchen, the powder keg, you would say that the officers, the police present there, should have put up a barricade outside the. After all, inside was one of the most controversial Mohammed draws of Europe, but they didn't, and I think they did not do that because they didn't expect this to happen. They were unable to imagine that this would happen, and that is why I always say that the film is also about how we lost our innocence, how we lost the Danish naivety about these things. Because it's interesting when you look at our history with conflicts with the Islamists. We had like the Muhammad drawings in 2006. We had a pretty tough immigrant politics, and we have a lot of very hardcore debates about this. But still, we didn't think that a terror attack would happen in Denmark, and suddenly it did. It's sort of a loss of innocence.
Do you remember the moment when you thought, I'm going to make a film about this?
Yes, I think there's a couple of reasons why I want to make this film. But first of all, on the night terror attack in 2015, I had a phone call late in the evening, and it was from a journalist on a big Danish newspaper who asked me how I felt about one of my friends had died in the attack. And I was, of course, shocked. And it turned out that a former friend that I haven't seen for 15 years was killed outside the powder keg. He was at this meeting and he attacked the terrorist and was shot. So suddenly, this abstract, distant concept of terrorism, which is something you always see on television or on the internet, suddenly it was in my face. I was in eye level. It was personal. That was one thing. And I remember saying that we have to do something. We have to make a story about this somehow, talking about how unfair this is, how crazy this is, how weird it is that people in the same town, in the same city, brought up almost the same way, are killing each other, and how much power we have over each other, that we can actually have this happen. So another thing that I thought when I was the idea, so the concept of making the movie was already conceived there on the night of the attack.
So you can say that the fact that you knew the first victim, Finn Nørgaard, who was a documentary filmmaker himself, and also Lars K. Andersen, with whom you wrote this screenplay, he had also been a friend of Finn. So that was really of importance for your decision to make this film.
Definitely was, yes. And another thing that was also, so actually what we did after this night, Lars K. Andersen, the co-writer, I should say, we started meeting up and talking about things, how he was when we met him. You know, we were making notes on his life and on the times that we were living in now. How did it get to a point where we have these kind of shootings? How did it come to a point where we have this kind of conflict in our societies, where religion are fighting each other, and where secular societies are being fought by Islam? So this kind of discussion ended up in a lot of notes that were incoherent, but at some point we started structuring them. One of the things we talked about a lot was this weird thing about that everybody is feeling insecure. Everybody's feeling that they lack something in the world, even though we have we are rich as we have ever been. We have a high educational level. We have free health care. We have welfare societies in Europe on different levels. We still feel afraid and insecure because we can't cope with the changes in the culture, the changes in economy, the fast changes in politics. It's just moving too fast. These conflicts our brains cannot cope with. So we have this. So we have this weird situation that's sort of a feeding fear and tribalism and hostility towards each other as groups. And this kind of thing is one of the most dangerous things that are in our civilization right now. And that back then we could see that, we talked about that, and how to do something, that would tell that story.
That was before you started with the screenplay. Let's talk about the choices you made when writing the film, about the 4 characters. What about Rico, for instance, a police agent?
Rico, the film is structured around 4 people during the terror attack, at 14 days, 2 weeks before the terror attack and 1 day after, at the time. So the characters are the terrorist, Omar el-Hussein, it's Finn Nørgaard, and there's a Danustan, a Jewish god, and then we have the special force officer called Rico. He is the only one in the story that is fictional. And he's fictional because he's working under very secret conditions. He's working for the secret police. So you cannot get to the actual person who shot the terrorist, Omar el-Hussein. So what we did with that, we talked to 12, 14 cops or SWAT officers that has either been in the force now or have been in the force, and talk about their life. What did it mean to be that kind of a police cop? what did it mean for your life, and what actually happened that night. Even though they were not able or allowed to talk about all this, we had a lot of information, so we could piece the story together as well.
What we see are four men, and all of them are frustrated, quite frustrated about their situation in life, both of the victims and also the police officer. And the killer, he's a released prisoner with a fucked up life. And for him, it's sort of last exit Islamism, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you could say that. I think he's a very, I mean, the story about Omar el-Hussein as the coming of a terrorist is very common in Europe. It's a combination of early misconduct at home and a criminal record that is quite long, a fast radicalization, and turning into the, you know, where you feel that the only option or opportunity you have is actually go out and defend your religion by shooting some other people. That is the character that we mostly see in Europe in the new, we say that the new wave of terror. So yeah, you could say that. I mean, what is interesting about the characters when we started working with it was that everybody was at a crossroad where they had to choose a new path. They all have big choices in life, and that was when we were wondering about it. We just started dedicating, you know, trying to look at our own life and saying, well, we always have these kind of choices to make. We always in the situation where we have to make these choices. And even the way the world goes now, we have with the larger, higher frequency, we have to choose these new paths much more than we did before. But you're right. I mean, it's four men that are caught up in a life situation where they have to make a choice, and which is basically one of the theses for the film is that the unfairness of you going here, you know, around in your life, struggling and making things work, and then finally, when you're almost there, you get shot. That indignation and frustration was one of the reasons why we made the film.
What is it you want us to think about? Could we say you have chosen a religious point of view and end up with a sort of Christian message?
Yeah, I don't know about the Christian thing, but you know, what I feel is that the way we have a more humanistic kind of message. Our message is that we can't live in our silos and keep living like that. We need to reach over the middle and meet. The way the Western societies developing right now, they're moving into becoming more and more tribalistic kind of societies. We are forming up in groups now, and we are hating on each other. We are fighting each other. This is not the idea of democracy. This is not the idea of pragmatic political solution. So what we have to do now is to go back and trying to talk on the middle of things, you know, stand in the middle and discuss without the tribalistic or fundamentalistic point on life. We gotta reach out for the commonship in this. Otherwise, we will see a lot more of this from the right wing, from lefties, from Islamists. For you know, this can go on forever, and it's for now with the latest development, it seems like it will go on for quite some time. So basically, this is the film is also an inspiration and an ask for people to talk more and discuss more, but from a pragmatic point of view. How do we make this work? How do we come back to the secular rights of freedom? How do we respect each other's, point of view in that sense?
Do you think that social media can be helpful?
For some, I don't know. I don't know how helpful they are. I don't think so. I don't think they've proven helpful so far. I think they've proven more helpful for radicalization and splitting up people and polarization. I don't see them as a big democratic meeting places. I see them more as a part of the tribal war.
A part of the problem.
Yes, a part of the problem. And I think that also, I think the social media are the feeling we were talking about in the beginning, the feeling of being, not being safe, being unable to cope with the big changes in life, in society, the political, everything. I think the social media are definitely creating this feeling or feeding into that feeling. So I think that no, I don't think they're helpful in this process. I think we should reinforce the old townhouses and town meetings where people face to face are discussing and talking to each other and seeing that we are all human. We are all people.
Ole?
And discuss point of view. That we should do through social media in that sense.
Ole Christian Madsen, tusind tak. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Hope to see you in Lübeck.
Yes, I definitely hope that I will come by some next year.